Everyone says AI agents are going to replace work, but most people cannot explain what an AI agent actually is. So let's strip away the hype in this video and build the mental model of AI agents, including tools, memory, loops, planning, and more. Alright, so what is the anti-hype definition of an AI agent? Because I see that AI agents, it gets hyped a lot because a lot of people think that if someone is using AI agents, then they are doing some wizardry, some kind of magic. But let me be clear, AI agent is not magic. It is just a system that can do a few things. The first would be it can read the state. It can then choose an action and then it can use tools. Like it can do something which is outside of chat. It can talk to different tools to basically take an action for doing a job. Now, some people also get confused by chatbots and they think that it is an AI agent. But if your AI tool, if it can't act, then it is probably just a chatbot with a fancy name. So things like ChatGPT, if it is not connected with MCP or doesn't have skills, doesn't have any automation, then it is just a chatbot. Now, chatbots are also AI powered, but they differ from an AI agent. So let's talk about like how workflows and how agents are different from one another. All right. So first of all, like let's talk about chatbot. So chatbot, what happens like you ask a question and then it gives you an answer. Think of it like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, where you ask a question and then it will give you an answer. And then, of course, you can ask follow up questions and it will give you follow up answers. It is best for one off help. It is not an agent, but it is an AI system that you can use an AI chatbot for one off help. Like if you need advice on something or if you're doing something one off, like a research one off, then that is best for that kind of work. Now let's talk about workflow. Okay. So workflow will basically have fixed step and it can do the same things every time. Like it can follow the same path every single time. For example, workflows on Zapier or N8N, where you can basically go and set workflows that follow a fixed path. If this happens, then do this. If the answer is yes, then take this step. If the answer is no, then take this step. Now, when you think of an AI agent, in this one, you don't have to keep it to a fixed set of steps because it can basically like figure out what the next step is based on the state. Agents are great for messy tasks or for tasks which don't have a specific set of steps to take. For example, you can set up an agent that can look at all the issues which are coming in your repository. It can figure out which are the important ones to fix. It can read your code base and then it can fix those issues too and raise a PR for fixing it. So in simple terms, a simple distinction is that agents adapt while the task is happening. Now let's look at what is the formula for creating an agent. Like how do you create an agent? So in a nutshell, what happens is you basically start with a goal, then you set a model, like, which model or multiple models like the agent will have access to. Based on what kind of goal you are setting, what kind of task you have to do, you will pick the model. For example, like for more complex tasks, you may have to like pick a frontier reasoning model. For simpler tasks, other models will be more efficient, both in terms of time and cost. And then you define like what tools will the agent have access to. Then you give the agent memory and context. Then you create a loop. And basically, what happens is the loop starts with your goal. If your goal is to fix issues in your code base, you have to tell your agent like what is the measurable step of that goal is. After drafting a fix, if you want your agent to basically run that fix through certain tests, so it will kind of keep looping until it reaches a point where it passes that test. So you define the loop while you are setting up the goal. And after agent gets to work, it will run in loop until either it reaches the goal or until the stop condition has been met. So maybe you want to set a condition that try it for like maximum 10 times or 20 times. But if you are not able to do it in 20 times, then just stop because you don't want to waste money burning tokens just by trying something infinitely. So coming back to the definition here, an agent is basically a goal-directed loop with access to tools and state. Access to tools and state, very important. Okay, now let's talk about how agents basically interact with the world. So basically what an agent does is it will give the model access to different things. For example, the most important of these tools are files. So it can give access to files on your computer or files hosted on a server or hosted elsewhere, like maybe on GitHub. So maybe you're hosting your code on GitHub, and agent will basically give modern access to those files on GitHub or on your computer. Then the agent will basically have access to terminal. That is how it can run CLI commands to do a lot of things, either on local computer or on a remote server. Then agents can have access to database. So if that is something that you're working with, you can give access to database. It can connect to different databases to basically gather a lot of context or maybe update information or analyze information on those databases. Then the agent will have calendar. So I have an agent that basically like helps me manage my calendar, and I have given it access to my Google Calendar. So if you're planning to build an agent to help you with your work schedule, so yeah, giving it access to your calendar is one of those things that you can do. You can also connect your agent with different APIs, so that will give it access to different services. For example, I have one agent that helps me do intraday trading on Zerodha, and it is connected to Zerodha through Zerodha's API. It does have some limitations and guardrails that I have set, but within those guardrails, it can access Zerodha's API, basically place trades on my behalf. And then you can give your agent access to browser so that it can open websites for you, it can fill out forms, it can buy things on your behalf. All right, so the next important part of an agent is the memory, like, what the agent carries forward, what information it can work with. The first one is the context memory. So this is basically what the current chat would be, what visible instructions are, and what files you have uploaded in the context of an AI agent. The next one is working memory. So how it differs from context memory is when the agent starts working, it creates a scratch pad of its own. It creates a task list of its own so that it knows that what things it has to do and what things it has done and what results it has gotten, so that it can kind of, use those for continuing the tasks. Like you can run an agent for multiple days at once, which is where having the working memory becomes very important. The next is the long-term memory. So this is things like your preferences, what kind of replies you prefer, what are the past projects, like in case that is needed, what are the facts that it has, and what is reusable knowledge that it has. So these could be things like if you're working on a long-term project where you have like reusable things about that project. So your agent can basically make use of that information, of that knowledge while working on different tasks of that project. Now, one thing to be aware of, that memory is not always useful. It is only useful when the agent remembers the right things and forgets the noisy things. What that means is that agents have limited context or limited memory window. So you don't want to overload their memory with a lot of different things, with a lot of noisy things, because then you'll start getting hallucination. So it is a good idea that from time to time, basically review all the context which is added to the agent and maybe remove some context which are no longer useful. All right, now let's talk about loops in AI agents. So this is like one of my favorite concepts of AI agents, because loops are the engine of an agent. Now, what happens is when you give a task to an AI agent, or basically when you set up an agent to do certain tasks, it will first observe the input, like what task it has to do. It will try to figure that out based on what prompt you have provided, what input you have given. Okay. So after that, it will think like, does it have access to enough context for that task? Does it like understand the task? Does it need to load any skill for that task? So it will think and do those things. Then it will take action. So it will draft a plan and basically start working towards the goal that you have set. Once it has done the work, it will basically review the work. It will try to figure out like, has it reached the goal successfully? Is this end result right? Okay. In case if it is not right, so it will repeat this process again till it reaches the goal that you have asked your agent to do, or till it reaches the threshold, like the limit that you have asked the agent to stop. So for example, like if I've told the agent that stop after 10 tries of, trying to reach this goal, like it will try after 10th try, it will stop doing that. It will stop the loop. So which is why like agent design is basically often just loop design. So now let's talk about the concept of planning in an AI agent. So think of planning as a temporary map that your agent uses to basically reach the goal, right? So what happens is like once you set the goal for an agent, it will get to work and it will start planning like how would it reach that goal? What tools it needs, what access it needs, does it need to load up any skills? So it will do all of that, and then it will basically branch out into different tasks. So for example, like if you have given an agent a task to research about movies from 50 years ago, so it will first make the plan that, where it can find the information and what kind of movies are we looking for, where the movies were made a lot at that times. And then what it will do is basically make subtasks for the entire task. So maybe the first subtask could be that go and fetch IMDb listings of movies that were made 50 years ago. Then the subtask 2 would be to figure out more context, more summary of each of those movies. And subtask 3 could be to summarize the report for you. So these could be like the different subtasks that the agent will spin up. And once it has done that, it will basically check the plan. Like, does it sound right before I actually start working on it? So don't be surprised if an agent revises the plan while it is working on something, because that is expected to happen and that is sign of a good AI agent. Now let's do a live demo of an AI agent. So I'll be using Hermes. I have this bot called Zuno, which is set up on Hermes Agent, a very popular agent setup framework. And I will give it this task to basically research one AI tool, collect notes from the web, and compare it against alternatives and recommend whether I should use it. So let's go ahead, submit this task, and then see all the steps like, that my agent is taking to basically do this task. I'll go ahead and submit now. So I submitted my task to the agent, and now I can see that it has asked me a question like, which AI tool would you like me to research? What's the context? Are you evaluating it for a specific use case? Example, coding, writing, data analysis, and automation. Let's try to answer these questions. Which AI tool would you like me to research? And what's the context? No tool. I'm exploring. Then I'll say the context. So are we evaluating it for specific use case? Yeah. So let's say. I'm evaluating it for coding. Let's go ahead and submit this answer to my agent. All right, so I can see that it has started delegating tasks. So it says that, I'll pick a compelling one to evaluate. Let me research Cursor, the AI native code editor that's taken the dev world by storm, compare it against alternatives like GitHub Copilot, Windsurf, and Claude Code, and give you a proper recommendation. And then now we see that it has started delegating the tasks. So this is the subtask that we talked about here. So let's wait for it to return with an answer. All right, so our agent is back with the result. And basically, like it says that the recommendation is to try Cursor AI for AI coding. Now, of course, when it started, we could see that, it delegated the task, but my Hermes agent doesn't send like all the steps it's taking in the background on Telegram chat. So I asked about it here that I wanted to see all the steps you took to get that answer. And it told me all the steps that it has taken. So here's what it did. So it made a judgment call and picked Cursor since it's the most discussed AI coding tool in developer circles right now. Then what it did is it spawned a single sub agent, which is called delegate task with detailed research prompt. And here's exactly what it passed it. The AI coding tool Cursor in depth. What is Cursor? Collect notes from the web, find recent reviews, Reddit, Hacker News, tech blogs, compare against GitHub Copilot, Windsurf, Claude Code across features, pricing, autonomy, and privacy, and summarize pros and cons and give final recommendations. And then it gave it the web toolset and set maximum iterations to 30. So that was the limit of the loop that this sub agent could run. Then the sub agent basically did all the heavy lifting. It figured out all the things that our agent had asked it to do, which happened in step 4, where sub agent synthesized and returned with tokens. So it basically returned after 4.5 minutes and 14,000 input tokens, which it compiled into a structured report and returned it to our main agent. And then the agent basically formatted that reply and gave it to us. Now, in this example, I was surprised to find that our agent did not take a parallel sub-agent approach, but rather used like one sub-agent where it did a lot of heavy lifting. Like this is the honest limitation, because the whole thing was essentially one big sub-agent doing sequential web searches, and it could have done it more efficiently like this, where it had parallel sub-agents, like multiple parallel sub-agents doing different research work. So I followed up here and basically asked it to kind of, do a sub-agent based parallel research too. And this is what it did. Like it basically spun up different sub agents in parallel in the follow up response. Now, when we talk about agents, there are times when agents will fail as well. So, what can lead to failure of an agent? So, sometimes if it is stuck in a loop without any progress or without any stop, it would basically like keep repeating the same thing again and again. So it is very important to give your agent a measurable end goal and also a limit that if you try this many times and if you are not able to reach the goal, then stop. And that will basically prevent the stuck loop situation. Sometimes the agents could use the wrong tools. So this is where in your prompt, you can define that which tools the agent could use, or maybe in your skill, you can define that the agent should use these tools or prioritize these specific tools for a particular job. Sometimes the information is bad or the state is basically bad. So it basically forgets the constraints or uses outdated information to do a job, which will basically lead to not so optimum results. Sometimes the agent can overplan. So this is where you actually have to look how your agent is doing a job and basically course correct if you see that it is over planning a task. And once again, no stop condition. So this is related to the stuck loop situation that we discussed here. So if there is no stop condition, in some situations, it won't know that it basically has to stop after doing this step. So it is very important to give your agent a specific goal so that it would know that when it should stop. All right, so if you're setting up agents for the first time, I would not recommend you doing full autonomous agents to start. So for example, like you can set a chief of staff agent, which can basically look at your emails, send you the most important stuff from your work, look at your calendar, give you all the meetings that you have on a day and help you plan your day. So that is very good example of an agent which is supervised. It is just looking at information and surfacing that information for you, but it's not taking any action right now. That could be risky. Once you get comfortable setting up agents, then you can make it more autonomous and it can kind of, take a lot of actions on its own. All right, so to sum it up, these are the 5 pieces of agent checklist. The agent will have a goal, it will have access to tools, it will have memory, state, context. It will have loop, which is the most important thing that you should design for your agent. And then make sure that your agent has a stop condition. So if you understand these 5 pieces, you understand like 80% of what people mean by AI agent. Now guys, before you go, tell me what I should build next. Like, would you want to see a browser agent, like an agent that basically reads a website, clicks around on different things on the website, and extracts useful stuff from there? Or would you want to see a research agent? Or would you want to see a coding agent? Like if there's any other agent that you want to see, let me know and I'll kind of, build it live in one of the upcoming videos. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.